Welcome to our webinar, How to Take Your Child from Frustration to Forever Confident with our step-by-step Foundations Writing Program. I'm Lois Letchford and I want to thank you for joining me today. It really means a lot that you would take time out of your busy day to spend it with me, and I promise you're going to get amazing value from this training. I am here to take you step by step through our proven system that's been cultivated over the past 20 years. It will assist you in bringing your child's writing and reading skills to grade level and beyond. What I'm going to show you is the crowning piece of our workshop from our Foundation Writing Program. This process will quickly bring students who face learning differences to reading on grade level. Our process leads students to write an essay. It focuses on the natural strength of a student with LD and not their weaknesses. I'm guessing that for a lot of you, this is probably not the first time you have looked for ways to help your child. And if you feel like you're failing, it's not your fault. I am here today as I've been there. Not only do I live with dyslexia, but my son Nicholas, pictured here, also does. Nicholas failed first grade. The picture on the left shows him on his first day of school. He was reluctant to go. He knew he'd struggled, and he did. Testing at the end of the year showed he could read 10 words, and he had no strengths. 24 years later, after an extraordinary journey, Nicholas achieved what once appeared impossible. And it can be so incredibly hard to watch a child struggle every day, as I did with Nicholas. I felt so alone and so lost. So I'm guessing if you're on this webinar, it's most likely because you have tried absolutely everything and you feel like you're running out of options. You see, there's so much information out there, it's easy to get confused. One of the biggest reasons is because programs, techniques and strategies that aim to help people with dyslexia are created by those with limited comprehension of the depth of challenges we face. Living with dyslexia and overcoming its challenges allows us to look at it from a whole deeper level. When I was in school, I learned to read words I couldn't comprehend. Just reading words allowed me to survive in school, yet I knew I missed so much. Reading was always a chore, and I felt as if I was wading through mud. By analysing my reading challenges and doing lots of academic reading, I learned not only to teach my son, but many other students too. It's why I'm here today. I'm here to show you how you can take your dyslexic child from frustrated to forever confident with a step-by-step proven program. I'm ready to become each student's partner for progress using my time-tested methods and tools. Once learners understand the teaching dyslexic student system, it becomes a part of their life forever and allows them to read and write confidently and competently. What's the biggest challenge when trying to help your child with dyslexia? We know it is not through lack of motivation or laziness that our students are not being successful. We know they are motivated and smart. We know they want to achieve alongside their peers. My goal for this webinar is firstly to show you how our proven system works. And secondly, I want to show you the difference we can make in your child's life. It is important for the child's parent to understand how our system is designed to work and what steps they will be going through. We will be here to guide you through this process. A little about me. I am the author of the book Reverse to Memoir and known as the literacy problem solver. I've specialised in teaching children who are known as treatment resistant, those students who have been left behind through numerous reading programs. I employ age-appropriate strategies, and that's the focus of our Foundations Writing Program. As I told you, My journey into reading began with my son's failure in first grade. He had quite extraordinary experiences which allowed him not to feel the full force of failure. His learning journey allowed me to see him as a long-term case study. I've watched Nicholas, my son, employ many of the strategies that we will show you today, and I'll show you how they aided him in going from the bottom of the class to the top of the academic tree. This was my first student. I've had the privilege of teaching many other students when I became the district reading specialist in Lubbock, Texas. My youngest students were 6 and 7, the oldest 15. My task was simply teach this child to read. I did. Here are the pictures of my former students. Nicholas is on the left. Christian, now married and a father of 4, was the first of my students. He went on to graduate from college with a degree in communication, and in fact an honours degree in communication. Laura also graduated high school and college. Their stories are also in my book, Reversed, a Memoir. I've worked with both educators and parents, and I've seen such success through creating flexible learning environments. What impresses me about the program we have put together is that it is child-centred. Students will be thinking, the reading is high level, and they will be actively engaged in the process of reading and writing, thus leading to success. Although many students face multiple challenges in many areas of reading, our program addresses them in a new light. This is the first time Russell and I have worked together. We've had our different journeys, yet we use the same techniques. It's fine to show student success long term, but where did they start? This is a piece of writing from Christian taken after he and I had worked together for 2 months. Christian and I met when he was 13 and he had spent 4 years in a phonics-only reading program. At the end of that time, he could not read any text with accuracy or meaning. My task, as I said, was simply to teach him to read, and this is what he wrote after working together for 2 months. It's a retelling of the book Shadow of the Bull. There was a cool breeze he could not have asked for. He tried and looked at the people in the stands. He had not thought so many people would show up to see him face the bull. His mother had still not arrived with his mantra. That was his father's. She arrived. He grabbed it and stepped onto the yellow sand. As the crowd saw him, they began to cheer like the roar of a lion. I was so impressed with this piece of writing. It shows his strengths, that he could retell a story, putting his thoughts into words in a way that puts the reader in the position of the main character in the book. He has an analogy. He still struggles with the writing and with the physical writing and making sure words are all consistent. That's not a problem. At this point in time, that is not a problem. But what he has done is made significant improvements from where he had started. This was his first step to going on to graduate with honours in communication. What I learned specifically about dyslexia is that it's a language challenge, not a learning one. Appropriate teaching overcomes many obstacles. Student engagement is critical. In fact, I subscribe to the Galileo philosophy. You cannot teach anybody anything. You can only help them discover it within themselves. Russell's many years of struggle throughout school helped him to figure out ways to get away from the chaotic hurricane of non-learning throughout his early years to his controlled, calm, adult side. He too has succeeded in helping many others overcome their reading and writing challenges. We've both been working with students for over 2 decades. I showed pictures of Nicholas both as a child and an adult. Nicholas's success is why I am here today. Let's look at the trailer.
When my son was 6 years old, he failed first grade. He couldn't read. Usually students have 1,000 words. He could read 10 words, and we were told that he has a low IQ. You can't do anything, the child is slow. I decided to take Nicholas on myself. I'm going to try it at home and work from home. I had these books called Success for All, phonics-based decoding, and it was a disaster. I made learning fun. You throw away what he can't do. Once we got that, you have a different child.
For the degree Doctor of Philosophy, Christchurch.
Nicholas Letchford.
I'm graduating from the University of Oxford with a DPhil in applied mathematics.
I became the reading specialist teaching children who had failed all reading programs.
As opposed to focusing on the weaknesses, capitalise on your strengths. I wouldn't have got to Oxford if it wasn't because of my dreams and aspirations.
Labelling is the worst thing we do to children. Believe in your child, then they can achieve whatever they like.
Russell began his program many years ago, and his success and results were shared across the educational community. Dr. Gavin Yalcin-Tussis, PhD and former Vice President for Technology Transfer for the Research Foundation of the State University of New York, both respected and promoted his work. He wrote, "We evaluated a technology developed by Russell to improve the educational outcomes of dyslexic college students because we believe that the program works. We licensed it to Russell to develop as a business and offered it to college students around the country. I hope you accept his offer to introduce this program to your students." Now let me ask you this question. What would your child's life look like if they were able to excel in school? How many more opportunities would be afforded to them if they can finally achieve the higher grades you know they are so capable of achieving? It's worked for our students, for Russell and for me, and I'm here to show you how it can work for you too. How does that sound, guys? If I can show you today how you can help your child overcome their dyslexia and their reading challenges, wouldn't that be worth your time? Great. So let's dive into a step-by-step process that we use in this system. Over the years, I've been approached by many parents with children diagnosed with dyslexia and other learning disabilities. These parents are concerned about their child's ability to write a basic essay. Oftentimes, these children struggle with even writing the most basic sentences, let alone a simple or complex one, both of which are required to write any essay. Let us begin by addressing any reading concerns that you might have, because if you cannot read, you will find heightening writing skills to grade level or beyond quite difficult. The method we created to help students with learning differences overcome their reading concerns is simple and based on a 4-step process. The first step is using a book. In this course, we use a set book, as it allows us to provide the course at minimal cost. The moment any text is used, the cost of the course rises substantially. Who has visited Disneyland or Disney World? Does this place intrigue you? Are you curious about how the Disney empire was created? In this program, we, the creators, reflected on many aspects of reading before we chose the text, Walt Disney, Triumph of the American Imagination. Now, don't panic. We're not going to ask a student to read this text. What we are going to ask them to do is listen, and listen, and listen again. There's a reason for choosing such a high-level text. It's a Los Angeles Times Book Prize for Biography. It's complex. It encourages students to think. It's engaging and allows them to make the necessary connections to reading and writing complex sentences. Nicholas Letchford learned to read after failing first grade. At age 11, he was reading on a third grade level. That year, our family relocated to Lubbock, Texas. This move changed Nicholas's life. In my book, Reverse to Memoir, I discuss 9 factors which shifted Nicholas from the bottom to the top of the class. One factor had to do with living in Lubbock. Lubbock's in the middle of nowhere in West Texas, and leaving Lubbock requires many hours of driving. This is where we first experienced audiobooks. Listening to books became our family tradition. We listened on the road, we listened at home, and we listened driving around town. Listening to audiobooks in itself has many benefits. The first is hearing the high-level language. Students take in information which they cannot read, and now they are being exposed to grade-level text, thoughts, and ideas. Nicholas often re-listened to the books he loved. Audiobooks and listening to them was a major contributor to his academic success. This is Casey's story, Russell's student, and her parents have given full permission to tell her story. Russell began working with Casey when she was 10 and in the 5th grade. She was reading on a 2nd grade level. Yet Casey had a passion. She wanted to learn more about Theodore Roosevelt. Amazing, isn't it? A child whose reading level was so low, and up until this point, Casey had only been exposed to low-level literature. She was extremely motivated and hated the feeling of being the lowest reader in her class. On this occasion, Russell and Casey together selected an advanced book. They chose The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. The book is over 900 pages long and won the Pulitzer Prize and American Book Award in 1980. At this point you must be thinking, what? Why would you assign a 900-page book to a 5th grade student with significant reading concerns? Now, I understand your concern. Do let me explain. We can provide extensive documentation to the science of reading and why our approach works. However, for many students, they simply like to know that the process works and that they can achieve similar results. Casey, to do her work, obtained a printed copy and an audio version of The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. Both are available. It's important to own the book and not use a library book, as you need it for long term, and students need to become familiar with it, colour-code it and mark it up a way that meets their needs. During Casey's first reading, she used the dictionary constantly. She felt she had to look up every word she didn't know. Yes, that's right, Casey looked up many words. Only after being confident with word knowledge did Casey reread an entire section or chapter. She worked until she was able to read it without assistance of her audiobook. Sometimes Casey would read an entire section 10, 20, maybe 30 times using such a method. The entire process took about 6 months for Casey. For Nicholas, it took longer, but he also had significant language issues. However, he worked consistently, he listened to books, and he followed along. He used the thesaurus and the dictionary. 2 teachers over similar time periods in different states used similar teaching methods. This allowed students to progress from non-readers to grade level and above. Do you see why a student with dyslexia needs to be exposed to a well-written book such as we have in our course, Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination? Success in reading and writing is just like success in sport. To be successful, students must put in the work. Check basketball players. How many hours do they spend shooting hoops? They consistently practice and work to achieve their goals. Reading and writing requires the same level of consistency. We have found that our students, when presented with a specific question, are extremely focused on their area of specialty and will put in the work needed. For students with ADD and ADHD, we have found that when focused on their specialty and true interest, they also will put in the work required. Casey followed these steps. She listened to the chapters multiple times. She listened and followed along with the text. She used a dictionary to search for meaning of unknown words, and she searched for an answer to a specific question. If students struggle to put in the hours of work needed, this program might not be for you. Our program is designed for students who are willing and eager to put in the effort to overcome their writing and reading concerns. If this is not you, I suggest you contact me and I will send you to other programs to consider. However, no matter which program a student enters, they must be willing to put in the time on task. At this point, many students say, "It can't be that simple. There must be more to it." They are correct. The next step tells me if this program is a good fit for you, if you have the motive to see it to the end, because the next step is the 4 steps to writing an essay. Our program follows the steps used by Casey. The first is listening to the book Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination. Step 2 involves using the dictionary in a search to find word meanings. Step 3 has the reader's mind focus on the answer to a specific question, and step 4 then has the reader thinking of a more complex thoughts and putting together thoughts of a universal theme. The focus of our Foundationals Writing program is what we're going to give you today, and it's called the heart of the program. You can take these strategies we give you and implement them immediately with the student who is currently struggling with writing. We begin with writing and the writing of simple, repetitive sentences, followed by developing accurate rereading. The student then searches for words in the dictionary, and finally, the student will use the thesaurus to search for alternate words, and both strategies using the dictionary and the thesaurus expand a child's vocabulary, and it's a critical area for success at the highest levels. What I would like you to consider is this question: is this essay worth your time to write? This can be perceived as an odd question, especially when faced with a school assignment, but I'd really like for you to think about it is this essay worth your time to write? Is it worth your time to expand on the subject? Is it worth developing your subject knowledge? Finally, is this essay worth your reader's time? Now, this is where the question becomes more complicated and it may seem unfair. At this current stage of your education, the question, is this essay worth my reader's time, may be too challenging to consider. It is a question I want you to contemplate now. What does it mean? It means that the reader will learn something new from your writing, a new thought, a new point of view, or an unusual connection that the reader had not previously thought about. I'd like you to start thinking about how you can reach this level, that this is the level where you will be writing something that your reader will learn something from your writing. That when reading your works, it is worth the reader's time. From this point, your writing project will therefore be worth your time, and I will be showing you the most important part of the process to work towards this advanced writing level. Our chosen text, Walt Disney and the Triumph of the American Imagination, allows students to explore our specific question in depth. Students will critically analyse the text through the focus of this question. The question provides additional emphasis for both listening and reading. Students will easily use comprehension and monitoring strategies. The writing will progress from the beginner level, which would be described as one a well-educated reader has to think about in terms of themes of an essay before comprehending it, to the final solution. And in a final solution essay, it provides a truly unique solution to a critical problem. This is the level that a university professor searches for, and very few essays reach this goal. And in this program, I will give you the tools to move from the beginner and progress towards these upper levels. With time, you may reach the highest levels. Some of my clients have achieved these dizzy heights. Now let's check out why this writing program works with the following images of the brain from Dr. Sally Sawich at the Yale Dyslexia Centre. Do you notice that the front part of the dyslexic mind has about 2 to 3 more times the brain activity when compared to the general education students' brains? Please note that this area has to deal with word analysis, which in a practical sense means using a thesaurus. Therefore, if used correctly, a student's ability to pick out the advanced word to meet the needs of a particular essay has an advantage over the general education peers. This is one of my general theories that I will demonstrate momentarily. What I am about to show you is how to come up with a one-word universal theme that will be the focus of your attention and show you a process of how to move from a beginner level essay towards the highest level. Please note that I said move toward that higher level essay. In this course, I'll be showing you a power process. It is up to you to be practicing the process again and again. Each time you will be gaining more experience using the process, and you will use it again and again to get to that higher level. One question I've been asked repeatedly at this point is, what happens if I have to write a 10 to 20 page paper and not just a 5-paragraph essay? Not a problem. Once you find your universal theme, your bigger picture, and what I refer to as the forest for your essay, you can simply use expansion techniques to create the 5, 10, 20 page paper. But the skill is taught in our advanced courses. What I'm about to teach you is the heart of the entire system. We will show you how to focus on using your strengths of dyslexia and focus on word analysis. The front part of the dyslexic brain is 2 to 3 more times more active than their general education peers, and word analysis is using the thesaurus. We will show you how to do that and create a simple sentence. The crowning glory of this course has students working and thinking with word analysis through using the formula hero plus universal theme plus villain. For our example, we will look at the book Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination, Chapter 1.2, titled Escape. You will go through the book and identify who your hero is. We now have to ask the question, what is it that the hero wants to do? In the formula, we now replace the universal theme with the question, what is it that the hero wants to do? Obviously, we also want to replace the hero with its name. In this case, we will use Walt Disney. So what is it our hero wants to do? What is it that Walt Disney wants to do? Now here are the steps we want you to take. We'll want your child to re-listen to the chapters 1.2 and 1.3 to answer the question. What does Walt Disney want to do? A common response is Walt Disney wants to escape. We are looking for two types of words, an action word and the most important word. The action word is going to move the hero in the general direction of the goal where they want to go. It will not be particularly precise or accurate, but moving in the right direction. In this sentence, what is the action word that will bring Walt Disney on a path to his goal? The action word is usually the next word in the sentence after the name of the hero. Walt Disney wants to escape. The action word is wants. Now students have to highlight the most important word. The next question, what is it Walt Disney wants to do? This becomes the most important word in the sentence. The most important word is escape. Now we go to the dictionary, the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and type in the word escape. Students will read each definition and discuss whether the definition is suitable for their word or not. They will discuss the reason why it is they consider the definition appropriate. Now this step is important as the student has to discuss each word's definition with the mentor and give reasons why it's suitable or not suitable. Thus, the student's cognitive skills are involved. This is what comes up and are examples of how the dictionary is used. The definition of escape. 1. It's a verb. A, to get away. B, to issue from confinement. C, of a plant to run wild from cultivation. Number 2, to avoid a threatening evil. Now we want to discuss each definition and our reason behind choosing it or not choosing it. 1A, to get away. I don't like the definition for Walt Disney. It's too simplistic. 1B, to issue from confinement. I like this definition better than 1A as confinement deals with the outside world for Walt, especially after he moved from his farm to Kansas City, with confinement referring to the outside Walt, where Walt could escape into his mind. However, I still find this definition vague, but better than 1A. Number 2, to avoid a threatening evil. I do not like this definition. 1B is much better. This is the second definition of escape. To break free, break away from, to get or stay out of the way of, to fail to be noticed or recalled, to issue from, to be utterly, involuntarily by. Again, we discuss to get free of, break away. I like this definition better than 1A as confinement deals with the outside world for Walt, especially after he moved from his farm in Kansas City. With confinement referring to the outside world, Walt could escape into his mind. However, I still find this definition vague, but better than 1A. To get or stay out of the way of. I do not like this definition. 1B above is much better. To fail to be noticed or recalled by. This is better than some, but Walt noticed that he was not in Marceline, Missouri, having fun and being a child. He had to be recalled in order to get to Kansas City, delivering papers. I'm still going with 1B. To issue from, compared to 1B definition, this is still quite simplistic. And to be utterly, involuntarily by, compared to 1B, this is not a good definition either. We're looking at the final definition of escape, the adjective. Once again, we discuss. For all of the above which deal with physical escape, with Walt, this was not the case. Walt was all about mental escape, to escape into his mind, and later, when he was doing animation, to bring what was into his mind into the real world. Look at the quality of his animation from Steamboat Willie to Snow White in less than 10 years. This adjective definition is providing a means of escape, providing a means of evading a regulation, claim or commitment. By providing a means of escape, Walt didn't like to read and ended his formal education at 7th grade. Literature does not seem to be very important to him. He was exhausted from all his paper deliveries and had limited schooling. Providing a means of evading a regulation, claim or commitment. An escape clause in a contract. In my opinion, this is the best definition, and the first definition better than 1B. While this definition deals with a formal contract, I think that it represents a contract that Walt made with himself. His daily life was regulated, something that he had to commit to, mostly with the paper route. For such a daydreamer and a person lost in his own mind, such a grueling job to help support his family must have been hell for Walt. Here he was, going from Marceline, Missouri, where he could be a kid and act out what was in his mind, to taking on adult responsibilities of living in a very formal, highly regulated, grueling daily existence. So this is our best definition, providing a means of evading a regulation, claim or commitment, an escape clause in a contract. Now the student goes back to work. Our goal is to try and beat the definition we just chose. We want to improve on it. To do this, we'll use the thesaurus. We want you to enter the word escape into the thesaurus because that's the most important word. 42 different words come up, but you want to focus on the dark orange words, as these ones are the best. Let's say that the student chose liberation, the act of liberating, the state of being liberated. This is a better definition than we had with escape, especially the definition, the state of being liberated. While this definition deals with a formal contract, I think that it represents a contract that Walt made with himself. I think that this is better, a more precise definition than the terms of contract with our previous best definition. From this level, we now move from escape being the best word to liberation, with the definition of the state of being liberated. Now let's try to beat this by looking at the orange words at the next level. Click on liberation and let's see what we have. We now have 12 words, but again we're focusing on the 6 major ones. The student has a choice. They can look up each word or they can look up only the few. Again, for this example, we want to say we've chosen emancipation. Here's a definition: to free from constraint, control, or the power of another. To free from bondage. To release from parental care and responsibility. To free from any controlling influences. I like parts of these, so I'm going to combine them to form my own definition, as students should be encouraged to do as well. I came up with to free from restraint, control, or the power of another, to free from the bondage, to release from parental care and responsibility. I came up with to free from constraint, control, or the power of another, to free from the bondage or release from parental care and responsibility. I think that we need to add parts of definition 2 because Walt's father had such power over him. Walt really wanted to escape his father's control and the responsibility that came with the need to help support his family, something that he didn't have to do in Marceline, Missouri, where he could just be a kid. Now we have to match a better word and a definition. Click on emancipation and see if we can find another one. After clicking on emancipation and looking up each word, my preference was to stay with the original definition. I found that none came close to the new definition. I call these trash words or garbage words, words that are not as good as our previous level and thus have to be thrown into the garbage or trash. Therefore, emancipation is our universal theme, which is better than escape, the original word. So now we want to look at forming a simple sentence. We have hero, we have moved from escape to emancipation as the best word, as it's more specific and detailed. Our hero is Walt Disney. And we're going step by step to have our universal theme plus our villain. We continue to insert a universal theme, which is emancipation. Now we have Walt Disney plus emancipation plus villain. So in this case, we need to decide who the villain is. Who is the optimum villain to prevent Walt Disney from being emancipated? The optimum villain is Elias Disney, Walt Disney's father. So we now have Walt Disney, emancipation, plus Elias Disney. The plus sign indicate that additional words are likely to be needed in between. It could also mean you need to subtract words or move them around. Now the student needs to read the sentence out loud, and if it doesn't sound correct, then fix it. The example could be, Walt Disney wants to be emancipated, but Elias Disney refuses to let him go. This is a basic sentence that could be improved to, Walt Disney wants to be financially emancipated, but his father refuses. Does this make sense? Do you see how this works and the process that takes? If it seems over your head in any way, don't worry about it. What's important here is that there's an end of the exercise your dyslexic child will be able to make sense of it. At this point, many of our potential clients want to understand how this current work relates to other research in the field. To make this connection, an understanding of my original program is needed. Please note that many parents do not wish to spend the hours needed to go over all the research reports created. However, some parents generally want this information, so a brief discussion about teaching reading and writing is in order. Further connections can be discussed in our one-to-one strategy session. The original program was tested on numerous students a decade ago. One student was a 19-year-old severely dyslexic high school senior. He was highly motivated to get himself out of dyslexia hell. He has given us his permission to use his name, Adam. Adam quickly became one of the original program's most successful students. Adam's high school noted he was excessively motivated, but also told us that he had a significant writing problem. Although intelligent, Adam scored only 47 and 52 on his New York State Regents English examination. After talking with Adam, we found that he possessed an excellent analytical mind, which meant that Russell's original program would most likely improve his writing ability substantially. Adam, at this point, had only a 7th grade writing ability. Adam took the Regents English examination and increased his score by approximately 20 points, with scores rising to the low 70s. As a comparison, after Adam completed the program, he scored a 5, or approximately on the 70th percentile of the GRE analytical writing section. In addition, the following year in college, in English Composition 101 and 102, Adam scored an A and a B in both programs with no accommodations. Below is a complete example of Adam's progress through Russell's original writing program. On Adam's pre-instruction test, he was asked to discuss how well reasoned he found the following argument. The following is a recommendation from the business manager of Monarch Books. Monarch Books should open a cafe in its store to attract more customers and better compete with Regal Books, which recently opened a cafe. Monarch, which has been in the business in the same location for more than 20 years, has a large customer following because it is known for its wide selection of books on all subjects. Opening a cafe would clearly attract more customers. The cafe would require relatively little space. Space could be made for the cafe by discontinuing the children's book section, which will likely become less popular given the last national census indicated a significant decline in the percent of the population who were under age 10. Adam's exact response was, the Monarch bookstore makes an argument that their business would benefit from opening a cafe in its store to attract more customers. They state that removing the children's section of the store would make room enough for the cafe. In this argument, it says that the store has been open for over 20 years. Many customers shop there because of its wide selection of books. It does not tell what they were planning to do for younger readers. It also says that the last census shows that there has been a large decline in the population of that age. They do not make the point as to the customers that would shop elsewhere or the fact that there were no children's books. They could strengthen their argument by stating their profit margin as to the new cafe to the children's section. In discounting the children's section, they could lose a large number of customers to a smaller selection of books. Their reasoning is that only a small part of the population is at the age of 10, and by building a cafe, this would give them a chance to compete with other stores in the area. To furthermore put this plan through as is may not be the best idea. If they did a survey to the customers that shop there regularly, they may find a better way to solve their problem in a much simpler way. They should also consider that not having a children's section could hurt their business more when the population of children returns. I do not think this is a very strong argument because it is just making a suggestion as to what another store has done. In addition, there is no mention as to the way they think that this will improve their business. There is no research in their argument to support this. Then again, on Adam's post-instruction test, he was asked to discuss how well reasoned he found the following argument. The following appeared in a memorandum from the president of Hypergo Toy Company. Last year, sales of our Fierce Fighter toy aeroplane declined sharply, even though the toy had been a top bestseller for 3 years. Our customer surveys show that parents are now more worried about youthful violence and are concerned about better education for their children. Therefore, to maintain profits, we should discontinue all our action toys and focus exclusively on a new line of educational toys. Several other toy companies have already begun marketing educational toys and report sale increases last year of 200%. And since the average family income is growing, sales of new Hypergo toys should also increase. His post-instruction test results were incredible. The argument that to maintain profits, Hypergo Toy Company should discontinue all action toys and focus exclusively on a new line of educational toys is not completely sound. It makes assumptions without providing the necessary supporting details. The first piece of evidence that the argument gives in support of its conclusion is that Hypergo Toy Company customer surveys show that parents are now more worried about youthful violence and are concerned about better education for their children. However, this idea may not be completely logical. The fact that parents are concerned about youthful violence does not necessarily mean that Hypergo Toy Company should discontinue its entire action line. Many action toys are not automatically violent. Many of these toys are of professional sports players, people who perform stunts or extreme sports. Therefore, Hypergo Toy Company should not discontinue its action line because not all action figures are violent. The argument also states that several other toy companies have already begun marketing educational toys and report sales increase last year of 200%. However, this fact is not entirely valid. It may not be the best idea for Hypergo Toy Company to discontinue its action line. If many other companies are already changing their toy line to educational toys, then Hypergo Toy Company may have the upper hand by having action toys. Not all parents feel the same way about the same topics. I know this from personal experience. Some children will still want war action toys. Also, just because other companies have had an increase in sales does not necessarily mean that Hypergo Toy Company will have the same increase in sales. Lastly, the argument attempts to prove its conclusion by stating that since the average family income is growing, sales of the new Hypergo toys should also increase. However, just because there has been a shift in the economy does not necessarily mean that there will be more people buying toys. Many families are in debt and cannot afford much extra. It is not that important to all households to own the newest toys. Therefore, Hypergo Toy Company may not see a large increase in sales. Therefore, the argument is not entirely convincing. The argument could have been strengthened by stating the following. Hypergo Toy Company only makes war and violent action toys. Educational will cause Hypergo Toy Company to have an increase in sales, and the economic shift will cause more people to purchase toys. In the end, however, the argument presented lacks the necessary supporting data to validate its conclusion. This is such an improvement. You would never think that it had been written by a dyslexic person. In fact, this is better than most people without dyslexia can write. Adam's writing dramatically improved. In college, he went on to earn a B in English 101 using only the resources available to other students. After following multiple other students in college that completed our course, we found their GPAs range from mid-2s to 3.67. Most didn't even use their college disability service office. The science behind this course is solid. Now, over the past 30 minutes, we have gone over quite a bit of information. I'm guessing you might feel a bit like this now. I have absolute confidence that you can take everything we have covered here today and on your own go out and put it into action and get results that you previously thought were not possible. But what if I play an active role in your results, took a responsibility in your success, and had an obligation to the outcome? Would that make things different? I'd like to invite you to enter our Writing Foundations program. Before you begin, you will hop on a free, no obligation 90-minute call with me, where we can discuss your child, their struggles, and the fit for them inside our program, and the goals that we are all aiming for. This call will answer any of your questions and give you all the information you need to make the right decision for your child. Take a look at what some parents have had to say. My name is Amanda Ressinger, and my daughter took this program. Jordan struggles with dyslexia. The following are actual responses given by Jordan's teachers when she would ask a question or raise her hand. Jordan, you're not even trying. Or, you're just being lazy, Jordan. Or my personal favourite, what now? Both Lois and Russell have an unbridled passion for helping other dyslexics unlock their ability and maximise their potential. This program is effective in as little as 1 hour of instruction. I boldly make this statement because my daughter has used the program. In less than 3 sessions, Jordan improved her reading, and she is now able to complete her homework in a shorter amount of time. This program takes time to learn, and we have a long way to go, but we never expected to see results this fast. If you or your child suffers with dyslexia, you would be hard-pressed to find someone who understands the dyslexic brain better than Mr. Russell Van Brocklin. You are in more than capable hands. Such a powerful change. Our program is all inclusive. There are no additional costs. So part of the program is the Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination, and also the audiobook. You will get a download, a PDF download of the Foundations Writing Program, and included is a weekly 90-minute webinar where Russell and I will be there to answer all your questions. And we have some bonuses for you. The first bonus is the book, Reverse to Memoir. And here's what people say about it. The first is from Professor Tim Rosinsky of Kent State University. And he wrote, just finished your book, Lois. Reverse to Memoir, your work with your son and other children is inspired and inspiring. I intend to assign your book to my undergrad and graduate classes. And a second review comes from the Midwest Book Review. The critique is informative, engaging, detailed, candid, and ultimately inspired and inspiring. Reverse to Memoir should be considered a critically important and unreserved recommendation additional to community, college, and university libraries. contemporary American biography collections in general, and special education curriculum supplemental list in particular. It should be noted for the personal reading lists of education students, academia, the parents of dyslexia, and otherwise diagnosed learning disabled children. That's reversed a memoir. Another parent, Pam, wrote the following recommendation. After watching a news story about the writing program on CBS in Albany, New York, I enrolled my daughter. Originally, Morgan had considerable concerns about her writing ability. This program worked with her on both her introductory writing and an advanced writing program where she learned how to write a college-level research paper. Morgan is currently in college and doing well. And we have a second bonus for you because we want you to access information not only by reading but by also listening. We are offering my book to you in audio format too. This is an abridged version read by me. Being dyslexic, reading this book took great effort, but now it's completed and I am proud of it. Now, habits are really hard to change. I could leave the webinar right now and go and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I am already successful overcoming dyslexia. This is already working for me. But this is not about me. This is about you. If you leave now, you might think you've learned a lot of cool stuff, but my guess is that by the morning, you'll already slip back into your normal routines, right? You'll just do what you've always done. That's what most people do. But in this program, I'm not going to let you go back into old habits. I'm going to make sure your child is successful by breaking those old habits. If you really want lasting change, then you need repeated exposure to the full system. And that's what you'll get with Writing for Dyslexic program. I'm guessing there are two kinds of people listening to right now. You're either a do-it or a dabbler. The dabblers love to sit and listen and learn, and they rarely ever do anything, and often look for any excuses not to move forward. Some of you are doers. You might not be sure how this is going to work for you, but you see how it's worked for myself and for other people, so you have faith that it will work for you as well. And what I've found is that the doers who get ahead in life, while the dabblers don't even really seem to progress. What you need to do is take action. Set up a call that could change your child's life. This program can do that, and it's backed by science. Look at what some of the professional educators have said. This is a recommendation from Dr. Holichka of the SUNY College at Buffalo, New York. Children with learning disabilities who are using the new Writing Methods program are acquiring higher levels of reading and writing skills with much less effort than those students who are using traditional writing methods. Because we believe our program has the power to change your child's life, we are offering a third bonus now. I know our children can learn to read. Their previous failures are not due to their lack of effort. In fact, my philosophy comes from Professor Kurt Dudley Marling. Learning and learning problems dwell in activities and cultural practices and not in the head of individuals. Calling from this seminar provides access to me and my extensive knowledge of reading. We know our program is not for every child. Our students need to be motivated to achieve to overcome their reading challenges. The students need to be disciplined and willing to put in the effort. Learning to read is like learning any skill. We don't just learn a sport by watching. A student has to play it. The same philosophy applies to reading and writing. Students must be actively involved in the process to be successful. Students may learn to love learning. Our program makes it easier to do this as we focus on their strengths, listening first before we build the writing process. The writing will be repetitive. We will strengthen their writing muscles, allowing them to write independently. Now, I want to ask you a question. If all this program did was help your child develop the skills they need for learning to read and write at a higher level, would it be worth checking out? I would think so. If all this did was increase your child's writing level to that of a college student, would it be worth looking into? I sure would want it. And if all it did was put your child in a position to gain admission and even a scholarship to a college and a university, would it be worth setting up a free call? I think we all know the answer to that. And finally, we'll listen to Dr. Nicholas Letchford talking about his learning journey.
I have been diagnosed as dyslexic and with an auditory processing disorder. It feels like you're learning English as a foreign language as a student who's just begun. Sometimes it feels like that. In my past, I've had several very influential teachers and several teachers that have really put me down. I really value the teachers in my past that have helped me get to this point, as opposed to focusing on the weaknesses. Capitalize on your strengths, on the skills and assets that you have as a person. So for me, that was my spatial awareness and my mathematical visualization, which is fairly common amongst a lot of mathematicians. It can be hard. It was very difficult for me, and it still is, that there are many challenges you'll face. My mum is a very inspirational figure. She has worked immensely hard, and she's the person I owe a lot of this to.
Now you have two choices. The first option is do nothing and take no action. The second option is to take action and schedule your free call now. Are you ready to make the call to help your child overcome dyslexia? Make an appointment for your free 90-minute strategy session so we can discuss your individual child's concerns.